Hello and happy Tuesday, boys and girls. It is I, Alfred Konuwa, alongside Issa, NYC Demon Diva, here on the Tuesday night NXT podcast for Wrestling Inc. Issa, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you, Alfred?
I'm doing very well. Glenn is on assignment right now. He's in parts unknown, so shout out to Glenn.
He's helping Tony D'Angelo get ready for his big match next week.
Oh yeah, top secret. He's gonna get our boy to the promised land. We'll talk about Big Tony D. We saw the GOAT tonight, and that was great. Not so great, Issa, were the Raw ratings. In fact, they were the worst ever on Sci-Fi because of the Olympics. They got bumped to Sci-Fi, it's a much smaller network. They did 1.387 million. That is the lowest viewership in show history. I know we could throw these out, but anything that stood out to you for Raw last night, Issa?
I thought the Lita and Becky Lynch segment was good. I really liked how Lita looked on that segment. I loved the opening segment between Alpha Academy and RK Bro and the Quiz Bowl. That was a lot of fun. I mean, I don't want to build that narrative. I personally thought the ratings were a lot better than what I thought they were going to be, given the fact that they were in Sci-Fi and they didn't do a very good job at advertising that they were on Sci-Fi. I didn't even realize it until yesterday when I was getting ready to preview Monday Night Raw. So, I mean, given the factors and what they have working against them, I personally thought these ratings weren't so bad. And the show was watchable, I will say.
Yeah, and I really did love that opening segment too, but my problem with the show was I felt like it peaked after that. I felt like that was the best thing on the show, and it just progressively got worse. But yeah, this was to be expected in terms of this number, and now I'm just curious as to what NXT is going to do, because they were on Sci-Fi tonight too, and even routinely they'll get 500,000 to 600,000. So this could get ugly for NXT 2.0.
Which is, I don't know, ridiculous, I will say, because I actually thought tonight's NXT was probably the most fun I've had watching it in the last few weeks.
Oh, it's good to hear. Yeah, I actually liked a couple of things on this show. We'll be sure to get into that. Before we get into that, let's talk about Tony Khan back on Twitter, continuing to tease a huge, and this is his words, huge AEW signing that sets up Friday's Rampage. Of course, Tony Khan announced that somebody will be walking through the forbidden door and signing with AEW. Tomorrow night is going to be the mystery opponent for Isaiah Cassidy. Issa, who is this person? Before I give any other information, Jeff Hardy has been a big name in terms of a rumor, and that has been shot down because of his contract. But Matt Hardy,
hasn't been shut down, Alfred. Hasn't been shut down.
It has not, because Matt Hardy has stepped up and said that, who knows, maybe Tony Khan bought out Jeff Hardy's contract just to keep hope alive for that. So who are we going to see tomorrow, Issa?
I would assume it's got to be somebody like a Jeff Hardy or maybe somebody from New Japan, Mustafa Ali. I personally take this Forbidden Door term very seriously. And in order for it to be considered Forbidden Door, it needs to be somebody that is contracted to a different company. If you bring in a free agent, that does not, you're knocking on the wrong door, buddy. You need to knock on the regular door, not the Forbidden Door. So whether it's Keith Lee, Johnny Gargano, Karrion Kross, I think those will be excellent additions, but that is not the Forbidden Door, my friends.
Yeah, that is very interesting, the language, because they are kind of expanding it. When it was first rolled out, the idea was we're going to get people who are active with other promotions. It's kind of like working with other promotions. But now it's just essentially free agency. Eventually, they're going to re-sign somebody to AEW, and that's going to be considered the Forbidden Door. So I think
I think Forbidden Door is like Mickie James showing up at the Royal Rumble. That is the Forbidden Door, because she is currently the Knockouts champion, even though we're not allowed to say that. But, she is the Knockout champion. Also, it's not a live stream of mine. If my dog doesn't bark, apologies.
Yes, Robin is just shouting out the chat, saying how much he loves you guys. So,
Roman loves the chat.
We've got a super chat before you start NXT from Maya Lee for $4.99. Thank you for that. NXT is lit. Nikita a badass. The Creed brothers are legit. And Tiffany is that girl. And Trick and Mello are star. And Grayson, bodyguard, looks like Braun. Yeah, a dead ringer for Braun Strowman. We'll get into that. This is a very interesting. It looks like
that was an excellent super chat. Yeah, we have basically recap NXT for us, so we might as well just get out of here. That was perfect.
Good night, everybody. 5 minutes into the podcast, you've heard it all from Maya.
We're done.
No, but yeah, a lot of people putting over in that super chat, so that's good to see. Let's get into NXT. We go from the CWC or Full Sail, whatever they're calling it right now. We opened with a Mandy Rose and Kaylee Ray back and forth. It's kind of pre-taped between the two women. Mandy Rose talking up her body, Kaylee Ray talking about how she's the longest reigning champion, and they're going to main event. What did you think about this opening video package, Issa?
I mean, I thought it was great. They did a good job telling the story last week. I mean, it went a little overboard with the spaghetti and all that. It wasn't necessary, but it's a main event. It's a title match on a Tuesday night. You might as well hype it up, and I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, they did a fairly good job, just especially because it's a main event and kind of getting you ready for it. And they did things throughout the show to promote the main event, so we'll see how that worked. The first match was the Creed brothers versus the Grizzled Young Vets. So fans are really behind the Creed brothers. I really love the thing that they're starting to do where it's like alternating knees, where it's almost like a soccer ball. It's really great. Here's the thing with Grizzled Young Vets. I usually couldn't care less about the Grizzled Young Vets because they've got this kind of old school style. They're almost like FTR, no flips or anything like that. So they're usually like the bruisers. But because they're up there against the Creed brothers, who are like the bruisers of all bruisers, the Grizzled Young Vets kind of had to be the high flyers. And this is the best I've ever seen them look. I thought they were very entertaining in this match. And I really did like this opener, Issa.
Same. Shout out to NXT 2.0, 2 weeks in a row, giving us a hell of an opening match to just like light the show on fire. And it didn't slow down. Last week I felt like it kind of like went downhill, but I didn't feel like tonight it slowed down. So good for them for pacing it better. This was a lot of fun. Most invested I've been into Grizzly Young Veterans. I'm with you on that. I never really been into them. I even think the name is confusing. How are you a young and veteran? Like, I don't know. The whole thing just throws me off. Creed Brothers, I think you and I have been pretty high on them since we saw them debut. They were extremely, they just look so legit tonight. And as I'm scrolling through Twitter in my timeline, I am seeing a lot of people really, really giving them compliments and really starting to notice them. So I think that Diamond Mine is really starting to do a great job at getting this faction over.
Yeah, I was one of the first people, if not the first, on the Creed Brothers bandwagon. It was like love at first sight the second I saw them. And a lot of that is because of kind of how green they are. It looks a little real, but you can tell they're phenomenal athletes. And I think there's a lot of promise as a tag team.
There's somebody in our chat named Glenn Rubenstein who says, less Grizzly Young Veterans, more Tony D'Angelo. We might want to ban that person from the show.
Wow, yeah, seriously, Glenn Rubenstein. Very nice.
If that's even your name.
Seriously, we're going to have to investigate that guy, chat. I need you guys to keep an eye on that individual. But Creed Brothers are victorious. They are going to the finals of the Dusty Classic. We go backstage. It's Raquel. Oh, maybe you can help us with this, Issa. Raquel and Cora Jade. It turns into a shouting match between Raquel Gonzalez, Valentina Feroz, and Yulisa Leon. They argue in Spanish. Here are the words I picked up. Mi amor, that's my love. Tag team, and chingon, which one of the women called Cora Jade. And what?
Chingona.
Chingona. Raquel Gonzalez said, only I can call you that. What is a chingona, Issa?
I don't know what it means in Mexican terms because we speak very different languages. But I will assume that that's like somebody that you don't want to mess with, right? I think that is the context in which it was spoken to here. For us here in Puerto Rico, that's a whole different term that it's not late enough for us to get into that discussion. I had no idea who these two Spanish women were, but I was here for all the Spanish representation on the show today. We saw more of that later on from Santos Escobar. I thought that was a great way to make a first impression. Like, if you're going to be there, I don't think we've seen them before. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we do this every Tuesday, and I don't think we've seen them before. But I think stepping up to freaking Raquel Gonzalez is awesome. And seeing Raquel Gonzalez have Cora Jade's back, finally paying off that storyline of Cora Jade really wanting to earn her respect and get her as a partner. I thought this was a fun backstage segment.
Yeah, they did do a brief vignette with them a few weeks ago, but then even when they showed up, I had to wait for their names to come on the screen to know who they were.
Right.
But yeah, they're really building up the Dusty Women's Classic, which I believe starts either next week or the week after next. But,
yeah, I think it's the week after next because we have Vengeance Day next week. However, especially, these two are legit tag team, and there's a couple of them that we have seen tag together for a while, but there's a couple of teams that are thrown together. They don't feel thrown together anymore. They have put a storyline behind these women who are going to be tagging together, and I appreciate that.
Yes, they did that with the men too. Some of them, and we'll get into that in terms of a disappointment I had. But before we get there, speaking of disappointments, so we get Wendy Chu versus Tiffany Stratton. Okay, so they're starting to tell this story between these two women, which I think is good. It's good, clean fun. She steals a credit card, but they're having the match 1 week later. Okay, right. Wendy Chu is the babyface who steals from the heel. Right. To get heat on the heel, she spends all of her money, maxes out her card. So apparently that is her real money to a degree. That it's still on the case. You know, who knows where they went, but they maxed out her credit cards. And 1 week later, the babyface loses to the heel clean, so the heel got her comeuppance. I was flabbergasted by how they told this story and how they just kind of blew it 2 weeks. They didn't even wait until Vengeance Day, which is next week.
I mean, yes, but what makes you think that Wendy Chu is the baby face here? She's always sleeping, sneaking around, listening to other people's conversation. You know, Tiffany's just out here trying to make her daddy proud, while this woman is spending her credit card. I don't know. If you ask me, the sleepy one is the heel. I personally wanted to... Oh my God, I'm reading the chat. I'm sorry. I personally wanted to see Tiffany win here because I feel like both of these gimmicks are a little over the top, but I still think that I can take Tiffany Stratton a little bit more seriously than Wendy Chu. So I wanted to see Tiffany Stratton get the win. I thought they had a fun match, short, you know.
Yeah.
And Tiffany got her daddy's credit card back.
Yes, my problem was not with this match, which I did think was very good. Especially for what it was, very short match, but I thought they worked very hard. And I think Tiffany Stratton, they've got something. Like, I know people are kind of disillusioned with the blonde prototype in WWE. Like, forget all that. Just simply from an athletic standpoint, for the few matches she's had, not only athletically, but in terms of being like a star, I think they've got something in Tiffany Stratton. And I liked what I saw from them physically. I just thought this was going to be a longer storyline. And Wendy Chu was hugely over and lost. And I felt like that was a kind of deflating loss for this crowd. Now, we're not going to advance this until I hear you do your Tiffany voice, Issa, because the chat is calling for it. The chat wants to hear Issa do her Tiffany voice. Let's get it.
My daddy told me that I needed to beat Wendy Chu tonight and get the credit card back.
Even the upward inflection, that's great. I love it.
My entire stream today turned into me in person. I don't even know how it happened, but that was my entire stream today, in case you guys missed it. It was just me doing my stream in that voice.
Now I'm upset I gave that away for free. We're never doing that for free again, Issa. We can make money doing that.
No, super chats, you guys, super chats.
That was awesome.
My daddy is very proud of me.
He's as he should be, Tiffany. Pete Dunn versus Draco Anthony. So they're backstage in the kind of mutual respect storyline. It's not much to write home about. Pete Dunn took most of the match. The GOAT, Tony D, comes in with a crowbar trying to attack Pete Dunn. Pete Dunn, ever the smart babyface, outsmarts him. He runs off Tony D. He's got a bunch of weapons. Of course, he beats Draco Anthony before any of this goes down. Then he gets a bunch of weapons, and he chases him off with a paddle. And Pete Dunn challenges the GOAT, Tony D'Angelo, to a weaponized steel cage match. Are you here for it, Issa?
Yes, of course I'm here for it. Because, like, we know that Tony D'Angelo is related to the mafia. So if you're going to involve weapons there, this could get ugly. Like, things are going to go down. Also, did you catch backstage before the match? Pete Dunn made a joke where he said that Tony D couldn't tweet because he like broke his fingers, and I'm like, when did Pete Dunn start making jokes? Like, that's not his character. I didn't appreciate that. Thought the match was a lot of fun, but honestly, I was waiting for that Tony D'Angelo. Like, I was waiting for him to come out and attack Pete Dunn to set up the match that we all really, really want to see. Now, with it being a weaponized steel cage, I would assume that Tony D will get the win here, but I'm 1000% here for this stipulation. I want to see what the hell they're gonna do.
Yes. Tony D better get the win here. This is Tony D's feud to win. Pete Dunne does not need this win. Let me say this. I've seen weaponized steel cages in TNA. I saw them in the dying days of WCW. We saw them in WWE with Chris Jericho and Ambrose. It's one of those ideas that always sounds better than it ever is.
It was an Ambrose Asylum match.
Yes.
Get it right, Alfred.
Weapons on the cage. I've seen all these weapons on the cage matches.
Right.
They always sound exciting. They never really end up delivering. But I do have faith. If anybody can make this the greatest weaponized steel cage match of all time, it's the GOAT. and I think Tony D is going to come through for
Yeah,
us.
Tony D is gonna bring the crowbar. He's gonna win the. He's gonna bring the waste management truck. He's gonna win. He's gonna bring probably real weapons. Like this is gonna be. He's gonna bring his entire family. Like this is gonna be great. Like what weapons? What is a weapon? Can it be another human? You never know.
Oh my God, it should be. It should be like one of those frozen bodies that they just swings and throws it at me. Dunn just freaks him out.
Oh, the producer from the last show is gonna show up and he's gonna use him as a weapon.
Mark is gonna be the new weapon.
Yo, you know it.
It's Z for $5. The forbidden door Tony's talking about is a door that leads to the basement where Shane is there waiting to debut AEW Underground. Can't wait. AEW Underground. Are you here for that, Issa?
No, but I am here for AEW Under Siege.
Oh, the other under. Let me tell you, Underground could work because you've got Dan Lambert. They've got this connection to UFC. They could use these UFC fighters that we always see as essentially extras and have, like an underground type MMA event. Just wouldn't work for a wrestling crowd.
As long as if there's going to be dancing girls, I plan on applying for the job. I try to apply for Raw Underground, but they got rid of the dancing girls like the next week, which was unfair.
You should have still applied and just told them that you're enough. Just you dancing and taking the camera for yourself.
I would have taken like the bets, you know what I mean? Kept track of the numbers. It would have been a lot of fun. It would have turned into Molly's game. It would have been amazing.
I'd be here for that. We get LA Knight. One-on-one with Braun Strowman, ladies and gentlemen. He's back in NXT where he started. Now, this is Senga. There was a comment earlier, and they were absolutely right. This is a monster. He's dressed exactly like Braun Strowman. He's got the black tank top, got the cargo pants with the camouflage and the boots. Just exactly, and every bit as green as Braun Strowman was at first as well. So he wrestles like a young Braun Strowman, and he dresses like a young Braun Strowman, and had this, if you want to call it a match with LA Knight, it was fine. LA Knight did what he could. Story of this match was that a turnbuckle came off, and Grayson Waller tried to distract. It backfired. The monster Senga gets headfirst into the turnbuckle, and LA Knight wins this finisher. What did you think about LA Knight versus Senga?
Senga. What a name. Yeah, I mean, I felt like this was a little bit predictable because the story here is LA Knight and Grayson Waller, and you know that LA Knight is going to get to Grayson Waller eventually. So I did feel going into this that almost like the match before where you're just waiting for Tony D to come out. Here I'm like, okay, he's gonna beat this guy. Now the resemblance to Braun Strowman was just so noticeable, right? Like the way that they're building this character just looks like him. Made me wonder if that's who's knocking on this door tomorrow. Maybe they got the scoop and that's why they bring this guy,
I get people talking about it.
Imagine if they found out that Braun Strowman is debuting tomorrow at Dynamite. So they're like, oh yeah, well, we'll give him a different Braun Strowman.
Just like they did with Razor and Diesel.
Yes.
Razor and Diesel left. They're like, it's okay. We got the IP. We'll make a new Razor and Diesel.
We got the Wish.com version of Braun Strowman right here on NXT 2.0.
How long until he goes into the vaunted NXT parking lot and tips over a car?
I mean, it's going to be like a Mini Cooper or like one of those smart cars. I don't see him being able to pick up like an ambulance like Braun Strowman did, right? Because remember, this is a Wish.com version, so we have to like kind of like take it down a notch. Maybe one of those electric scooters, but he'll pick something up.
I love that gimmick, is that he turns over very small cars, very small items, but he still turns them over. It's still impressive, just not as impressive. That's great.
Exactly. But yeah, I think Grayson Waller, I don't know, it feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, let me know if you feel the same way, but after his loss to AJ Styles, he lost a lot of momentum.
I think he did too. I think that's unfortunate. Yeah. I think it was counterintuitive. You would figure that he'd get the rub. He still seems like he's being pushed to a degree. It's just that around that time with AJ Styles, he was on Raw. He was cutting promos left and right. He had a little steam behind him. And then, he does just seem like another guy now.
Yeah, and we did find out this week on one of AJ Styles' many interviews that he did that it was his idea to come down there and do this for NXT and help put this guy over, which is awesome. I think going toe to toe with AJ Styles, even if you lose, is nothing to be like not proud of. But I do think that his momentum has really just slowed down, and I'm hoping that this feud with LA Knight helps him regain some momentum. I'm not Team Grayson Waller, but I feel like if this is a person that's gonna take out Johnny Gargano, one of the biggest things that we know in NXT, let's do something with him. If that's what we're going to put that, we're going to give that rub to, as you say. He got the AJ Styles rub. I want to see him do more.
Yeah. No, it's a very fair point. And what we're doing with this storyline, so LA Knight, of course, got hit with a restraining order. He attacked Grayson Waller after. And so now, next week, as part of NXT Vengeance Day, Grayson Waller has vowed to have LA Knight publicly arrested.
What?
A public arrest, ladies and gentlemen.
Amazing. I guess, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I should have filed the restraining order to begin with. I think that's soft. I think he should have just faced him like a man and fought him.
Yeah. And NXT has been doing a good job with legends from the past in terms of bringing them. We saw with Ted DiBiase and RIP Ray Traylor, who was a big boss man. Had he been alive, I think this would have been a perfect time to bring him in there for hard justice, as the Shield big boss man, as like the real heel big boss man of the Attitude Era. I thought that was a great character.
Public arrest,
knife stick and everything.
Been there. It's a shame.
Well, I've been there as well when I was 18. Not a lot of fun.
I started a fight. I made two girls fight at a bar because I was bored, so I instigated the fight, and I get arrested for it. They're the ones fighting. I just kind of instigated the fight. I went and talked crap to one and said, "Hey, this girl said this about you," and then I went over there. Then I started taking bets. That's what I'm telling you. I would be the perfect person for Raw Underground. Then I started taking bets. Cops ended up getting called because of the fight got out of control at the bar. I thought everybody was quite entertained. But then they figured out that I started everything.
Did they take your betting money? Did they take your winnings?
Yes.
Oh, that is unfortunate. Jesus Lord.
I know.
I'm sorry you got arrested. I really am. That's too bad.
It was just a night. It was just a night at the drunk tank. The cops actually thought it was hilarious. So I ended up getting a night at the drunk tank. The one thing that I will never forget about this is that I had just gotten my industrial piercing done, like the day off. And you know how you have to take off all your piercings when you get arrested? Yeah. Fun fact for the chat, we're educating you on public arrest. So I had to go and get it done on the other ear because I couldn't get it back in because it was brand new. So yeah. And industrial piercing hurts a lot. So they owe me that.
I can guarantee you next week's public arrest is not going to be half as entertaining as that story.
I guarantee you that as well. But I hope somebody has to take off their brand new piercing.
Yeah, seriously. They need to really be studying this podcast. If you want to do a realistic public arrest, remove that jewelry.
You got to take off that industrial piercing. And they're like, no, I just got it done.
So we go backstage. Okay, so this is a storyline that they're doing now. Duke Hudson is cutting a promo on God knows what. God bless Duke Hudson. Maybe you can fill me in. I forgot what he was talking about. But what's interesting about this is at the end of this promo, Duke Hudson shoots his shot with Indy Hartwell. He wishes her good luck on her match in the Dusty Classic. Later on that night, Indy and Persia get into a brawl with Toxic Attraction. And as they're brawling in the locker room, the camera zoom in on a photo that had fallen on the floor of Indy Hartwell and Duke Hudson at a sporting event or a concert, public event. Now, Issa, is Duke Hudson going to steal Indy Hartwell from the arms of Dexter Lumis?
He's going to die trying. I don't know that this is a good idea for Duke Hudson. I am extremely disappointed in Indy Hartwell. I feel like we need to get Beth Phoenix in here for a quick intervention or like some kind of marriage therapy, and then she can be the one that does, like that plays the therapist, because I was actually a little hurt. I expected more from her. But you know what? She did say last week that she loves a man that doesn't speak. So maybe that's why, because he's not gonna call her out on her BS. But really, Duke Hudson, wouldn't you rather have Dexter?
So do you think the storyline is going to be that she's cheating on Dexter with Duke?
Yes.
Wow.
I know. That beautiful wedding segment. Probably the last good thing that we have had. And they're going to just completely crap all over that.
Yeah. And, they haven't really been doing as much with Indy and Dexter. I know they're fun when they do stuff with them. So I guess if they don't have anything else and they are going to break up, at least they're doing it around a storyline rather than just, retconning the whole angle. But, Index is
You know
fun. I
who?
think they can still do stuff.
Yeah, you know who we need to blame for this? Johnny Gargano. The parental figure is gone. The marriage is falling apart.
Yeah. The kids are going their separate ways. Austin Theory is
Shame.
out trying to find a new daddy in Vince. Identity crisis.
There's a lot of daddy issues in this show.
Well, speaking of daddy issues, well, not necessarily maybe a son issue, but Braun Breaker is in our next segment alongside Santos Escobar. They're going to do a contract signing, we're told, one-on-one contract signing. But then Dolph Ziggler enters the NXT arena, probably the biggest pop I've heard for Dolph Ziggler in years. And then he's kind of talking down to the NXT talent. Here comes Tommaso Ciampa calling Ziggler kid. It was kind of funny because when Ziggler walked into this segment, the crowd completely turned on the NXT guys and they were with Dolph.
Right.
Then Ciampa came in, and when Ciampa started cutting promo on Dolph, then they reminded themselves, oh, that's right, we like NXT. And they went with Ciampa. And then Dolph kind of healed on the crowd, calling them Florida Seals. Right. I thought this was fun when they were doing the talking portion. Then the brawl broke out. It was what it was. Braun Breaker got put through a table by Legado del Fantasma. What did you think about this segment, Isa?
This segment was a lot of fun. Before I break it down, I just want to say the crowd tonight was hot. They had a really good crowd tonight. Throughout the entire show, the crowd was just mad hyped. I appreciated that because it seems there was a couple of episodes there where they were just dead. Okay, so yes, I hate when Braun Breaker speaks. I don't know what it is. Every time he opens his mouth, and he looks the part, right? And we know he's a Steiner. Like this dude got it. Every time he speaks, I'm like, please don't. Santos Escobar, bless his heart, man, because he was sitting there looking like a star. But every time I try to get invested, I remember all of the matches that he has lost recently, and I just completely lose all interest, which is why probably when Dolph Ziggler came out, we heard the pop. This was announced. Braun Breaker was calling him out on Twitter. If you don't know the tea, you should go check him out because Braun Breaker did call Dolph Ziggler out. And Dolph Ziggler did say he might take a trip down to NXT. So, it was a surprise, but it was kind of like pre-announced on social media if you're following up with the tea that has been spilled. I thought this made Dolph Ziggler look great, but at the same time, I was like, can you just switch places with your tag team partner? Because I would love to see Bobby Roode back in NXT because I missed that version of Bobby Roode. And then when Ciampa came out, I was like, okay, this match is going to be a lot of fun if it's going to involve all of these guys. I thought it was a lot of fun. I love Santos Escobar saying, what the hell are you guys are saying? I don't even understand anything that just went on. Like, I fought for that so hard. I thought this was fun and very well done. And I know a lot of people are going back and forth about it on social media, but this is the most interesting Ziggler has looked since he was doing that Intercontinental Championship run when he put his career on the line. After that, I haven't seen him do anything so interesting. Even when he was with Drew McIntyre was the center of attention of that feud. Nobody was ever invested in Dolph Ziggler. Then he got squashed by Goldberg. This is the most that I've been invested into anything Dolph Ziggler does. And I was even happy to see him. I actually popped a little bit sitting here watching NXT.
Yeah, it felt like a whole different guy just based on the reaction alone in terms of people receiving him like a star, coming off like a star. But I think you raised a very good point, Isa. They might have sent down the wrong guy because as crazy as it sounds, even though Dolph Ziggler got a big pop, Robert Roode, because he was in NXT, because Glorious is like one of the greatest theme songs of all time, everybody remembers, I think he would have gotten a bigger pop than Dolph would have and had been a better piece like fitting into this storyline. So that's actually a really good point. And in addition to that, I felt like this was an entertaining segment, but I feel like this just made you want to see a four-way or maybe even Dolph and Ciampa. It made you want to see anything but Santos Escobar versus Braun Breaker. Those were like maybe the bottom two of that segment. Like the heat was with Ciampa and Dolph. And you're building your world title match for next week's pretty much pay-per-view. It's like a made-for-TV show. But it's pretty much a pay-per-view, and you're building toward that by showing this four-way or potential dream match between Ciampa and Ziggler that completely, I felt, left Braun Breaker and Santos Escobar in the dust.
1000% agreeing with you because like I said, Braun Breaker was speaking and I'm like, please don't talk. I can't get invested into Santos Escobar because he comes off as a jobber when you look at his stats as of recently. So that's why I said as soon as Dolph Ziggler came out, everything picked up and he was speaking some facts and then Ciampa comes out and you're just so excited. But you're absolutely right. The last two people that I would like tell you that I was psyched up as part of this segment was I actually even popped for the little line that Santos Escobar got in there over Braun Breaker, who is your NXT champion and should have probably been the person that looked the strongest in this segment.
Yeah. I mean, I'm watching. It's like, wow, Ciampa and Ziggler would be dope. And then it's like, no, a 4-way between these guys would be dope. And then they're like, next week it's going to be Braun Breaker versus Santos Escobar. And it's like, well, that's not what I asked for. That's not what you're promising here.
Lame, right?
Mr. Meowpuss for $2.99. Braun tries to talk like Goldberg.
I can totally see it. Yes.
I will maintain he sounds exactly like his uncle Scotty. I think they should just make him into Scott Steiner. I think he'd do a great job.
Yeah, he does sound like it.
We go to the barbershop with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. Okay, so they nailed the vibe of this segment. It's brothers hanging out in the barbershop. Great vibe, great aesthetic, okay? The dialogue is god-awful because for whatever reason, WWE books these guys like they're coming-of-age talent. Carmelo Hayes brags about having a third date with Ollie J. Let me tell you something. I go to the barbershop at Inglewood. If I go into the Inglewood barbershop bragging about me getting a third date with somebody, they'd still be roasting me. Okay, but these guys were just so impressed. Oh, really? Wow, a third date. They run down his accolades. They talk about how Cameron Grimes hasn't done anything. It's a really good, again, I like the aesthetic. I like everything except the dialogue in this segment. But what did you think about Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams together at the barbershop?
I'm with you. As soon as the segment started and I saw the vibe and the atmosphere of it, I was here for it. I was like, okay, I love this. They do a lot of these vignettes lately on NXT, and a lot of them, they just get them so wrong. I thought this one was going to go perfect until the dialogue started. No, I'm a girl, so maybe, and it's February, maybe because it's Valentine's Day, the guys were just more likely to, to be more pro Carmelo Hayes getting this third date. I wasn't a fan of the dialogue, but I didn't mind it as much, but maybe it wasn't target. Maybe they were going for the wrong target here because I was like, oh, he's getting a date. Now we know why she had that awful singing segment on NXT. But good for Carmelo Hayes, man. I love Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. I think if that ever comes down to a breakup, I would actually be legitimately hurt because I really, really like them together.
Yeah, they're great together. I think they're great acts. Yeah. They both need each other, and I feel like they both together make each other better. They're like puzzle pieces.
And they have that it factor. It doesn't matter what segment they're in. As soon as they walk in, whether they're in the ring cutting a promo or doing something like this, you just have to stop and see what it is that they're going to say and they're going to do. Going back to our previous segment, I just want to say that a lot of people don't give WWE credit, but we have had now Dolph Ziggler, AJ Styles, and Matt Riddle come back down to NXT to try to help this 2.0 brand kind of like get over. And I admire that. I think that's awesome. I remember we begged for this back when the Black and Gold brand was going on. We wanted to see those guys interact with people from the main roster, but I personally think Black and Gold didn't need it. You had enough stars there where you didn't need the stars coming down to try to help you out. Where here, I do think NXT 2.0 does need this rub a little bit more than the old NXT did. So I just want to give props to these guys for just taking the time to come out there and try to help this product.
Yeah, and this is long overdue because had they done that with the Black and Gold NXT, I think there would have been more weeks where they would have beaten AEW, but WWE was too proud to make it a real war by sending their main roster guys over there, and I think that's part of what really hurt NXT in terms of the war.
Don't you remember one of the weeks that NXT beat AEW was the one week where Sasha and Bayley came down to defend the tag team titles, or we had that Sasha and Io Shirai match, like when they were doing it with the women because of the tag titles, which was still a mistake in my eyes, giving NXT their own tag titles. I love those tag titles going around, all the brands. But I do remember when Sasha and Bayley will come down there, the ratings tend to pick up a little bit more.
Yeah, and they picked up when AJ Styles and the club, the OC, came down to NXT and they beat AEW that week. So, maybe if they would have done that more. But we talked about this third date. This is why it sticks out so much, because between this, last night on Raw, we had the segment with Reggie and Dana Brooke where he's acting like he doesn't know how to talk to a girl. It's like, well, if you kiss me, what does that mean? Like, this is a grown man talking like this. Then we get two more grown men, Brooks and Jensen, who are trying to muster up the courage to ask Kate and Casey out.
That was so dumb.
Yeah, Brooks is so nervous. He doesn't know what to say. Jensen eggs him on to go ask Kate and Carter on a date. And she says, okay, it's a double date, which is not what he meant. But now we're going to get these wacky segments next week where they're on a double date for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, nobody, but our dude Reggie got friend zone on TV. I don't care what anybody want to say. He got friend zone. Nobody talks that way. Nobody, not even in high school. I don't even think when a boy was asking me to go out in high school, it was as awkward as this came out. And also, the last time I remember saying, "Oh, I'm gonna take my best friend with me," was when I was in high school. These are grown people. We don't need to be doing the high school thing. Okay, so let's just like, if you want to, I get that they're going for a younger audience, but you can work on the dialogue. You're putting together some cool storylines. We just talked about it in the barbershop, but the dialogue was off. Then you need to find the vibe that goes with the story that you're trying to tell. Hopefully they turn it around next week and the double dates is not as lame as this came off, because they just look so dumb. It was cute, but it felt very high schoolish.
Yeah, that's how a lot of these storylines feel. That's how they're being booked, like they're children instead of grown adults. Look, if you want to appeal to a younger crowd, it's not being innocent and high schoolish. You portray them as pretty much as they would be if the cameras weren't around, which is just a bunch of good-looking people with nice bodies hooking up randomly, okay? If that's what the route you want to go, you make this in the real world. On the real world, they're not like, oh, I don't know if I can talk to this girl. No, they're getting down to business.
Yeah, they treated Indy and Dexter and their honeymoon very grown up. They even showed us their protection they were using. So why not do it with everybody else? Because they got married. I guess you got to marry them first.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be pure. I'm here for sexy NXT, by the way. Let's get to my entertainment on Tuesday nights. NXT After Dark.
No. Oh my God! Not with this dialogue. They gotta get better. They gotta get
way better. They gotta overhaul that. Really, it's really killing some of these characters and storylines.
Do you think we're gonna see a freaking date between Carmelo and the girl, Anna, whatever her name is?
Like a beef, you said?
Like a date? Do you think we're gonna see a date between the two of them? I don't want to see it.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't want to see it written by WWE. I think it would be one of those weird things where they'd have Trick Williams in the bathroom giving him notes as to what to say. And then he'll get in a fight with the Maitre D, and then he'll repeat. I don't want.
I might actually be here for that, Alfred. Not gonna lie. Well,
it's a sitcom trope, But listen, I don't know if WWE can do better. So Nikita Lyons, our friend Nikita Lyons, is back. Okay, so she's completely dropped the rapping. Of course, we were very critical of her rapping from last week. Glenn is a fan and says that she's got other tracks that are good. I actually went and checked them out. She does have some other dope tracks. But Faithy J, I believe, is her real name or her rapper name. And she's not doing any rapping this week. She rapped last week, talked about her mom as a groupie and her dad as a rock star. But this week she talks about growing up in a band, getting into fights, and she's doing MMA. And she's doing strikes and shadow boxing. And I will say, I thought her MMA was more entertaining than her bars last week, Issa.
Yeah, I feel like she stopped rapping because of Glenn. And I hope Glenn apologizes to her. It wasn't even Glenn. It was the way that they produced the segment. I agree with Glenn. I'm still not invested. These vignettes are not doing anything for me when it comes to her character quite yet. I couldn't tell you anything about this vignette, and I really did watch the show.
Yeah. She was just okay. The only thing I can tell you is that she got to curse. She said something about weak ass shit. She said, "Come at me with that weak ass shit. You'll hear me roar." So
not in NXT 2.0 around the high schoolers. Bad, Nikita. Yes. Bad.
Seriously, these are children watching Nikita.
If they start cursing next week, and we don't even have Samoa Joe or William Regal to keep like things under control backstage.
Yeah, it could be.
Now they're gonna stop cursing. This is going downhill fast.
Anarchy. We get Enofe and Blade versus MSK. Okay, so I love this match, and I'll tell you why.
Yes.
9 times out of 10, Enofe and Blade versus MSK. It's like MSK's winning, whatever. Like, and I would have zoned out. Well, maybe they'll have a good match. Who cares? But they have done such a good job building Enofe and Blade up as these underdogs who keep springing upsets. And what I liked is that Wade Barrett, you can always kind of tell when they're going to go over because he calls the match a certain way, and at the beginning he'll say, there's no way they're going to do, and he's stuck with that. He didn't turn course. He said, there's no way they're beating MSK. So then my wheels started turning like, oh my God, they might put them over. They might ride this underdog thing to the finals, maybe lose to the Creed brothers. So I didn't know who was going to win it. So already it was going to be an athletically pleasing match. But in addition to that, the uncertainty of who's going to win it, I thought made this even better. MSK, of course, was fantastic. And they ended up winning clean with their double team maneuver. I think it was a mistake. I think Inoue and Blade should have won. At one point, Inoue hit a frog splash that was a thing of beauty. They slowed it down, and it looked like a swan flying through air.
Yeah,
like, this is baby Kofi. This guy's gonna. I want to see him and Kofi as a tag team at the very least. But MSK beats Inoue and Blade, and they're headed on to the finals. What do you think, Issa?
I love this match. Both of these tag team matches tonight delivered. And I love that you brought up that it felt very uncertain. I'm sitting here watching the match, trying to keep track of the action because it was very athletic, fast-paced, non-stop. But at the same time, I'm trying to figure out who do I want to see the Creed brothers face, because both of these teams were shining to the point that I wanted both of them to win. I want to see them both face the Creed brothers at the end. I went in rooting for MSK, and halfway through I was like, maybe I don't want MSK to win, but I wasn't angry at the result. I really, really thought that everybody shined. Like, if you go back and watch the last few weeks of NXT, the tag matches were incredible, and I'm glad that they're keeping, the spirit of the Dust Cup alive, because I was critical of the tag team division probably a month or two ago. I'm not that critical anymore. I think NXT has a very strong tag team division. I keep on forgetting who the champions are, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, they're building. They've really quietly built a good men's tag team division, and a lot of this tournament helped. And I think even going into the tournament, both tag team divisions, maybe not so much the women, but the women's division has been really good. But the tag team division for the men has been good. And I think by telling these stories more and more, having these side stories, which we saw another one after this match between Wendy Chu and Dakota Kai, they had kind of a side thing where she's got all these bags, and they both lost. So maybe they're going to be a team at the Right. Classic. Also, I skipped over the Sarai defeated Raquel. I mean, not Raquel, but she defeated Dakota Kai. They had a very short match, and it went through a commercial break, and Sarai defeated Dakota.
Yeah, I figured Sarai will win just because she's new, her new character. She probably needed that win, but Dakota Kai doesn't put on a bad match. I love watching her wrestle. I think it doesn't matter who she's wrestling, it ends up being such an enjoyable match. I wish they did a little bit more with her ever since her loss to Raquel, and she came back a little bit crazy. I guess that's her gimmick. I just haven't been really enjoying her the way that I used to, and I want more from her. If she's not gonna go to the main roster, then let's push her differently. Maybe bring back her old character.
Yeah, it is like she's playing too much of a character, whereas I felt like when she was with Raquel Gonzalez, she was being more of herself, which she's got a very magnetic personality, and she's very good at cutting promos and doing that, and it's less of a character. But now she has to play this enraged person, which kind of takes you out of it after you've seen what she's really like.
Right. And the thing of it is a lot of times I always feel like people should be more character strong. If maybe they don't have that in-ring capabilities or skills, then you want to push more the character. But Dakota Kai can go in the ring. So we don't need to go so hard, with the character when we know she's an awesome wrestler. I hope that she eventually, if we're not going to bring up Raquel, because I thought Raquel will be in the main roster by now, hopefully at some point they reunite.
Yeah. Might be the direction they head. We go to the main event, Mandy Rose versus Kaylee Ray. So Toxic Attraction, of course, they were brawling with Indian Persia before this.
How did they escape? We never saw them escape from getting kidnapped. Where did they go, and how did they escape?
It does. It's a magic kidnapping just happened, and we didn't get any follow-up on that. So
no, they just showed up, and I'm like, okay, wait, what?
It's like the opposite of being kidnapped. Usually you're looking for the person, but we're looking for the reason. It's like, great, they found you, but what happened? Like, I want to find what happened to you guys.
I tweeted in all caps, how did they escape? I didn't think we would see them. Like, maybe Kaylee Ray doesn't have the skills when it comes to kidnapping. Maybe she should talk to Tony D'Angelo. I'm sure they would have shown up if Tony D would have taken care of this.
We shouldn't let them get away with this. This needs to be a movement of how they escaped. We need an explanation.
Right.
All caps. I'm going to retweet that. Justin Smith, $1.99. Thank you, Justin.
We just did a segment where like Mandy Rose finds them, right, and she like lets them out, and they're like, "Why do you smell like spaghetti?" And Mandy Rose is like, "Just shut up. Let's just go."
Mandy Rose. So she defends her title against Kaylee Ray. Toxic Attraction was escorted from the building, as was Indian Persia, for brawling before this match. That's what we were told.
Right.
But Kaylee Ray and Mandy Rose are having this match, and toward the end, guess who shows up? Toxic Attraction returns to the building. Kaylee Ray gets yeeted from the top rope by Gigi Dolan. Mandy Rose hits her finisher and wins. They're beating up Kaylee Ray. They're about to hit her with the baseball bat, or at least they're teasing it. And then out comes Io Shirai, who had teased earlier on in the night that she was going to find a third partner for her and Zoe
That
Stark.
was as crazy as she is. Right.
Yes. And she comes in.
I thought she was going to find Dakota Kai.
Yeah. That's what I kind of thought. I was thinking, the way they're telling that story. But
I got it. Like once Io came out to make the save, I'm like, okay, this also makes sense because Kaylee Ray been walking around with a baseball bat, not caring. So I get it. But I really thought she was gonna go find Dakota Kai.
That would have made more sense, especially if she's saying that she's going to be this unhinged. But hey, Kaylee Ray was wielding a baseball bat by the end of this episode, so maybe she does fit this description.
Right. I like this match. I think that Mandy Rose has come such a long way when it comes to her in-ring skills. It's not being talked about enough. They are protecting her. If you look at the matches, they're a little bit shorter, especially when they're one-on-ones. I feel like when they're like the triple threat match went on a little bit longer, but you're able to kind of like play off each other. This match went a lot better than what I anticipated it to go. And I don't know what Kaylee Ray is supposed to be here. We were just talking about the confusion with Wendy Chu and Tiffany Stratton. I felt the same way here because it's like, yeah, she had it coming. She messed up Mandy Rose all episode last week. She kidnapped her crew. So in a way, I feel like she got her comeuppance. But I'm the kind of person that roots for the villains in movies, so maybe I'm just all wrong. But in a way, it made sense for Toxic Attraction to show up and kind of like mess her up. She made their lives a living hell last week.
Yeah, she bullied Mandy Rose into that title shot, poured food on her, and now she did get the comeuppance, although she did get chased off in terms of Mandy Rose. But yeah, I thought this match actually could have been better. I thought they did a good job, but I felt like a couple of times they were kind of off, especially when it came to pinning. I felt like the referee and them weren't communicating correctly because they had a couple of snafus there. And but listen, I had no problem with this match. I thought it was solid, but very weird storytelling in terms of making Kaylee Ray into the sympathetic babyface. And I didn't like this feud much at all.
No, I didn't like the feud, but if it's something to just get Mandy Rose a couple of more wins and make her title reign more credible, I'm here for it. And she just beat somebody that's a former champion, longest reigning champion. So that's good for Mandy Rose's resume.
Yeah, it absolutely is. She's got this long title reign. They're building this show around her. And next week, we are going to get NXT Vengeance Day. Before we go off the air, Issa, I want some predictions. I'm going to read you some matches for NXT Vengeance Day, and let's get some predictions, starting with Carmelo Hayes defending the NXT North American Championship against Cameron Grimes.
Cameron Grimes has such a sympathetic video package tonight, and it was great to see. But I'm like, he's losing. He's not winning. I just think Carmelo Hayes is so hot right now. Everything that he does, they command room, they command attention, and his matches have been so enjoyable. I do not want to see his reign end. So I'm going to go with Carmelo Hayes.
Carmelo Hayes. I'm going to go with Carmelo Hayes as well. Toxic Attraction versus Indy Hartwell and Persia Parada. Toxic Attraction, of course, Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. And I just remembered they're the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. I completely forgot that. But who's going over in that match?
I'm going to say Toxic Attraction just because they let Mandy retain. I think they're going to continue this whole Toxic Attraction host all the gold just for a little bit longer.
Yes, I can see Toxic Attraction winning. Maybe Duke Hudson has something to do with them losing. Maybe he distracts Indy Hartwell. Something happens. Dexter Lumis gets mad. Who knows?
Who knows?
We get a weaponized steel cage match. Pete Dunne versus the GOAT. You say you know who to pick.
Come on. Tony D's winning this. Tony D all the way.
Tony D with all of the weapons. I've got Tony D in a squash. Yeah, I said it.
I cannot wait for the dump truck to just enter the arena. Like, it's going to be epic.
Hell yeah. Braun Breaker versus Santos Escobar for the NXT Championship.
Come on, Alfred. It's going to be Braun Breaker.
Yeah, this whole card seems very predictable. And then we get, this is the one match I think can go either way. Creed Brothers versus MSK.
I don't know. Oh my God, I love both of these teams. You're right. You saved the best one for last. I am going to say Creed Brothers. I think Creed Brothers need the win a little bit more. MSK already had a title reign. They got to get a lot of really impressive wins in NXT where the Creed brothers are brand new, and I think that will benefit a little bit more. So I'm going to say Creed brothers.
Absolutely. MSK is already a top tag team. They really don't need anything. They could get a tag team title shot whenever they want. And this would be
They get
huge
to hang out with freaking Matt Riddle. Like,
yeah,
let the Creed brothers have something here.
I agree. Let the Creed brothers cook in this one. I want the Creed brothers to win this tournament. I think that'd be huge for them. And they're getting better. Every week they're getting better. I really like these Creed brothers.
Me too. 1000%.
Well, there we have a podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for hanging out with us. This has been the NXT podcast. I'll be back tomorrow to cover the huge news.
Are you sure you're going to be here, Alfred?
I am going to be here. I'm going to be right here in the flesh, and we're going to be talking about the potential debut of Jeff Hardy, Keith Lee,
Braun somebody was asking on my stream on my channel why you weren't here on Wednesday, and I'm like, I don't know. He's probably in the waiting room. I don't know what Alfred does.
I could have been in the waiting room, but it actually has to do with Wrestling Inc. kind of. In addition to being in the waiting room, which I was a little later on in the night, at the time I did a show with Brian Wall of Wrestling Inc. He does the daily podcast with Nick Hausman. We had a comedy show together. We met in real life for the first time. So shout out to Brian Wall. He's a super funny guy. I did my thing. We had a very fun time at the Attitude Lounge. It was called the Attitude Lounge, just like the Attitude Era, with two wrestling guys doing comedy. How do you like that?
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had a good time. Shout out to Brian Wall.
I bet. Sounds fun. I'm just glad you're going to be here tomorrow and I don't have to answer for your whereabouts on my own.
Well, I hope you told them entertaining stories. I hope you said I was in Parts Unknown or in the waiting room. That's always really the answer.
Of course. I'll be your alibi no matter what. You know that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's NXT. We're going to be back on Friday for SmackDown. Issa, Glenn, and myself. I'm an Alfred Konuwa. Issa, where can the people find you?
NYC Demon Diva. Go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just hit 16,000. Thank you so much.
Just hit 16,000. YouTube Pro Wrestling Bits at This Is Nasty. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.